Hey. So let me start by saying this is not a political segment. I'm not talking about politics at all. I mentioned Mr. Trump's name. I haven't uttered his name in probably since he's been president in a video. This is not a political statement. You'll learn in a minute. The biggest mistake or the biggest problem that Donald Trump has is not political. It's not the impeachment that happened twice. It's not what's going on with his situation in Florida, and people trying to get him out of there. Is not with his political popularity or the lack thereof. Is not with his trying to overtake the Republican Party and how well that's going or not. It's not the decreasing popularity, some of the rhetoric and fear that he's been pursuing. In my view, has is decreasing. It's not. That's my personal view. I think it sort of had its day. You can go down the list of all the things that he's dealing with, and all the lawsuits and the sexual harassment, and he's got everybody once a week somebody's suing him. I think he actually enjoys it. None of that is really problematic as this. About 15 days ago, his accounting firm of 20 years, I think, maybe more, announced that they were retracting, not just not doing additional audits and additional financial statements for him and his company. They were retracting 10 years of audited financials. Basically said, you can't rely, Mr. Trump and your companies and the public, and I'll get to the bad part in a minute, you can't rely on these financial statements anymore. Now, that may not seem like a big deal to the average person. It must have left Mr. Trump breathless. Because I know when I sign loan documents, it says there's a covenant there. You must have audited financial statements. We rely on these statements to make our credit decisions. And if ever there's an issue with the audit financials, they need financials. You must replace these audit financials with new audit. There's all these, but basically what that means is they can call your loan. So Mr. Trump is a billionaire technically, but he's a leveraged billionaire, meaning that he uses debt in order. He doesn't have the liquidity, he doesn't have the cash, so he uses debt to get what he wants. And what he wants is to be known as to be rich, and he wants to use money as a battering ram to protect himself and to communicate prominence. Right now, I think that he's got $400 million worth of debt that comes due in 2022, which is another inconvenience. So you got to renew this debt, but put that aside for the moment. Every lender that he has a loan with right now has a right, whether they exercise it or not is not my purview to say here. And I wish no one harm. But every lender has the right to call your loan if you breach a covenant like this. So technically, somebody could say, "Look, you're a rich dude, just pay us off," and that's it. That's it. And he's going to have a really hard time getting an auditor of any credibility to replace an auditor that just left and said, "You cannot rely on 10 years." The next auditing firm is going to be absolutely spooked, and it's going to take them a while to get up to date to even replace the old firm, which means there's a period of time where you have no control over your destiny. Keep in mind that the world pursued and prosecutors pursued, and I'm not comparing this here, right? I'm just saying that there was a gangster in Chicago that the law pursued feverishly, and they pursued him on murder and mayhem and all kind of charges, none of which were successful. But the man named Al Capone was actually convicted not of murder or mayhem. He was convicted of tax evasion, a financial crime. You want to hit somebody where it hurts, you hit them in their wallet. You make the dollar stop moving. You cause something to ricochet or to steamroll or to have a cascading effect that affects everything else in your life, and you have no control over it, and that's money. And there's a lot of money that's tied to those audited financial statements, and that firm is out. That firm was his privacy. That was his bulletproof vest. They didn't respond during the entire presidency to questions and requests, and that they also hold his audited financial statements, and which were never released. But what's in those audited financial statements are his presentations of his wealth, of his debt, of his values, of his value, which is what the AG, Attorney General in New York, is going after. And what the AG is essentially saying is you inflated your income, I'm sorry, the value of your assets, and you, in some cases, I guess, limited your perception of your communicated perception of your debts. Um, yeah, but inflation of assets is a big no-no. And if you're trying to do that to decrease your tax bill or increase your ability to get a loan, and you're communicating different numbers to different people, well, that's bad. So just so you know, I know what I'm talking about here, not the bad part. But I had at Operation Hope a firm that walked away from me at the last minute when they were issuing an audit, and I had to get a new audit firm. Luckily, I was able to get a new audit firm within 2 weeks, and issue audits within, I think it was 3 months. The new issued audits were better than the last ones, tighter, and we've never interrupted a history of 4 years. I mean, 7 years of Charity Navigator 4-star ratings. It's like having a AAA bond. I mean, it's the best you can get. So we were fortunate, but I mean, there was a period of time there where the lenders could have called our loans, and people could have done very bad. I mean, I just had no auditors for 2 weeks on over 1 years of financials that were not being issued. This guy's got 10 years, and the firm's gone poof, and there are folks pursuing him with like legal cases, and it ain't Mary Sue; it's an attorney general or two. It's a bad day for Mr. Trump, and I don't wish anybody any harm. I hope they can find a way out of no way, because if there's any bad news, it wasn't impeachment. He could always say, I can go back to my business. You don't come back. This is the business he's going back to. If this unwinds, it's the beginning of the end of everything that is tied to business, because all of it's tied to his company, and his company just had their financials dismissed. All right. Hope this has been helpful. Again, nothing evil here. Nothing hate. I'm not hating on anybody here. I'm just telling you the facts. All right. Love and light. John Hope Bryant. Go to Operation Hope. Get you some financial counseling so that you don't ever get your audited financials reversed. Go get you some financial coaching, and get your credit score up, and obsess about your money and your compliance. Love and light.